Thank you for joining me for the Daily Bread Bible Study. Here is day 168 for Tuesday, June 16th, 2020, focusing on Psalms 69 through 72. We have Psalm 69, another Psalm of David, and I selected verse number 9 for us. It is zeal for your house that has consumed me. The insults of those who insult you have fallen on me. I picked this verse because it fits kind of the context of the whole psalm, but also it's referenced by Jesus in the cleansing of the temple in the Gospel of John. In chapter 2, verse 17, he says, his disciples remembered that it was written, zeal for your house will consume me. So I imagine the first part, the zeal for your house, is less relevant than the insults of those who insult you have fallen upon me. And so the idea here is that as Jesus is cleansing the temple, that there are those who disagree with him and in fact insult not only Jesus, but insult God as well too, through the selling and exchanging of goods there in the temple. So Jesus was kind of appalled by this transaction, this marketplace that had become the temple, which for him pulled away from the ability for people to worship God and feel the focus would be on worship of God and not on material things. So that's why I selected that from Psalm 69. Psalm 70 moves into another Psalm of David, and I selected verse number 4. Let all who seek you rejoice and be glad in you. So this is pretty happy as a psalm. It is looking to celebrate God's joy that God has given in people's lives and the ability that when people follow and seek God, that they will be glad in God. Not much to say about that. Moving on to Psalm 71. I selected verse 6, which says, upon you I've leaned from my birth. It was you who took me from my mother's womb. My praise is continually on you. And so in Psalm 71, it's a prayer for lifelong protection and hope, and just the idea that people are calling for God to rescue them, and that God is a source of life even from our own birth until all the way where we will be taken home with God. And so because of this gift of life in God's presence and protection, that praise will continually be uttered by the faithful ones. So moving on to Psalm 72, our last psalm for today. It concludes book number 2, and we will start book 3 next time. It is a psalm of not David, but Solomon, and he is really asking, what he is asking for himself. This is reference the wisdom of Solomon, his prayer for guidance to be able to guide his people. And so in verse number 2, we have in reference to the king, specifically himself as King Solomon, may he judge your people with righteousness and your poor with justice. So King Solomon is wise. He's wise enough to know that God's ways and God's justice must be established, and that will provide for flourishing and wholeness and a strong community that is geared mainly by God's wisdom as manifested through the king. So this is the prayer of somebody in leadership wanting to be wise and discerning and to hear God's words instead of their own desires. And so may we have strong leaders in our lives and in our world who seek to listen to God, to hear what is right and just and equitable for the sake of people, not for the sake of their own gain. So thanks for joining me for this little Daily Bread Bible study. We look forward to next time starting book 3.